Hey guys, this is my first video. Um, basically, just reintroducing myself, pivoting from survival mode to living with purpose. I took a couple notes because I want to make sure that I stay um, just really in order and not have my thoughts just kind of all over the place. So before we get started, I just want to take a deep breath, recognize my emotions, recognize my feelings and everything in this moment. This is a goal for me to make sure I am shooting a video every week to really spark up conversation, really challenge your mind, your brain to think about some things, right? So this video is to talk about how I am pivoting from survival mode into living with a purpose and what that looks like for me. Now, everybody experience is completely different, right? My truth is not going to be your truth, but I am in a space where I am now walking in my truth unapologetically, and also I am living in truth, right? So, just to start off, survival mode. I wanted to just kind of look up the definition of that just to kind of give you a baseline of what that looks like, because we hear these terms: survival mode, autopilot, hamster wheel, rat race, all these terms that we hear about, right? But what do they actually mean? So I looked up some definitions just to kind of give you what the definition of it is. And as I read the definitions, I'm like, that's me. Like, I've been in survival mode. I actually was born into survival mode, right? That means that my parents were also in survival mode. So I really wasn't born into an environment where I really had a choice, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't unprogram your mind and reprogram your mind to the truth and pivot from survival mode into what we call living with purpose, right? So, survival mode, I looked up a couple definitions, and it says a chronic mental and physical state of high stress where the body is in fight or flight, freeze or fawn. Response is constantly activated due to perceived threats such as burnout, trauma, or overwhelming life demands. And that's me, right? I'm in the process of writing my book. I did mention that before, and a lot of things are coming up for me regarding where my survival mode kind of started based off the experiences that I remember. And one of them in particular was when me and my little brother was abandoned in the grocery store when I was 6 years old. So from that point on, I developed a lot of things within my childhood wounds, coming from abandonment, coming from fear, coming from neglect, different things like that. But that stems from childhood. It came from the experiences from when I was a little girl. And I remember back as young as me being 6 years old. So my survival mode, not only was I born into it, but as far back as I remember, it started when I was a little girl. It started at a very young age for me. Burnout was another one that kind of stuck out to me when you think about survival mode. And when I looked up burnout, it said a state of chronic physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged and excessive stress. Our nervous system is at an all-time high, right? We have been programmed and conditioned to not breathe, to not take a deep breath. So if you're in survival mode, your nervous system is constantly going at 1,000 times a minute, you know? So the burnout it kind of goes hand in hand with survival mode, because it's your nervous system that's kind of like, it doesn't know how to slow down. So we have to start the process of learning how to shift, how to pivot from survival mode, right? And what that looks like. What steps do we take to start pivoting from that, right? Before I get into how to do that, or what I've been doing to start to slowly pivot from that, two other words that stuck out was exhaustion as well as autopilot. Exhaustion is a state of extreme physical or mental fatigue. And also autopilot is acting or functioning without conscious thought as a result of routine or habit. So all these different forms kind of coincides together. When you're in survival mode, you're in what they call autopilot. You're exhausted, you're burnt out. All of these things kind of coincide together, but it kind of correlates with the nervous system, or how the nervous system needs to basically get in a habit and learn how to take those deep breaths, how to be able to really slow down and be present in the moment. Because I was watching one of the women I follow, her name is Miss Blue, and she speaks a lot about how depression comes from us living too far in the past, right? Anxiety comes from living too far in the future, and we are unaware that we are not actually living in the present moment, because all we have really control over is where we are right now, right? We can't change the past. A lot of us get stuck there, and then we don't want to grow and evolve. We keep reliving those moments, but it's nothing we can do about those moments. All we can do is learn how to I don't want to say move past those moments, but we have to start healing those parts of ourselves so we can start, because there's so many aspects of our lives that we're unconscious about and we're not aware of, but we're not going to be able to heal and change these things overnight. So you have to take baby steps. So when you start pivoting from the survival mode into living with purpose, it's a process, and it's not going to happen overnight, right? So I have a list of a couple things here that I made a couple notes about. So far as survival mode, we got to start by acknowledging your situation. You have to acknowledge the fact that you're in survival mode. You know, I read the definition of survival mode. What does that look like for you? Your survival mode may be different from what it is for me. Do you even know that you're in survival mode? Some of us are not even aware that we're on a rat race, that we're constantly going. That I'm gonna just ask you one quick question. When is the last time you took 5 minutes to just sit in your thoughts? Take some deep breaths in for 4 and out for 6. When the last time you did that? And I have to say, it been times in my life where I was afraid to. We live in a world, we around so many different distractions, right? And the distractions is to keep us from self, to keep us from really doing the internal work that we all need to do, right? So when I wrote my notes, I said, first of all, you got to acknowledge that you're actually in survival mode. That's the first and foremost, right? Practice self-compassion. Compassion, and forgive yourself. I'm learning how to forgive myself every day, forgiving myself for what I did not know. The choices that I made thus far in my experience, I felt like those were the best choices that I made at that time in my life, right? But as you grow and you evolve and you become aware and you start to take accountability for your stuff, you realize like, maybe that wasn't the best decision, right? But don't beat yourself up about it. Give yourself grace, forgive yourself. Ain't nothing you can do about that. All you can do is change your choices moving forward, and that's what I'm learning how to do. This is all of a learning process, because we have to reprogram our mind from what we thought to be true or what we thought to be what it is, and it's not that, right? So you're really relearning everything from scratch and getting to the root of who you are. Prioritize self-care. That looks different for everybody. You got meditation, people pray, you got journaling. My girl Koisha, I'll drop her link at the bottom of this video. She does Reiki. I've had 2 sessions with her already, and it's just basically being able to tap into that energy, clear that energy, a lot of blockages that we may not be aware that we have because of our past trauma. So different things that we have been conditioned and programmed that we needed to shy away from and not do is actually things to really start to help us do the work on how to shift from our nervous system being in survival mode to living with a purpose. Why are you here? Why are you here in this experience? Everybody is here for something. Do you know what that is? If you don't, then you need to start pivoting. Start to look at your life and see, are you where you want to be in life? And if you are not where you want to be, then you need to start making different choices, right? Own your stuff. Put your big girl panties on, put your big boy drawers on, and let's start doing the work, right? Seeking support. I have a therapist. I feel like we all need therapy. You know, we come from a generational lineage of trauma, yeah, we all need to seek help and talk to somebody, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a healthy family member, or different healthy strategies that can help you navigate through these different obstacles that you're going to come into as you start to do the work, right? Creating a routine. What works for me may not work for you. I'm only sharing my experience of what has worked for me thus far, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. When you start doing the work and you start really figuring out what resonates with you and what doesn't, you're going to flow the way you're supposed to flow, because now you're working on being in alignment, right? Going with what feels right to you and not with what you think, right? Focusing on small goals. When you start giving yourself grace and start working on those things, I started making little small goals for myself. You know what I'm saying? Week by week, day by day, however you want to do it. I know that I have a problem with staying disciplined, so I've been working on my discipline. I've been working on being consistent. I said, you know what? I have to let go of that version of me who I thought that I was, that survival mode version of me, right? So I'm pivoting into living with purpose. What does that look like? A person who lives with purpose is intentional. A person who lives with purpose is going to start taking accountability. It's going to start questioning things that doesn't make sense. A person who is living with purpose is a person who know that they ain't perfect. A person that knows that they're going to take it one day at a time, and I'm going with the flow. I'm going with what feels right, and I'm questioning things that don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So I'm learning things every single day, right? But that's part of the process, right? Then you got limit exposures to stressors. Stressors can look different for everybody. It could be your family. It could be your partner. It can be your child. It could be your job. What aggravates your stress? What aggravates your stress? Because whatever it is, you need to let go of it. And by letting go of things that aggravates your stress, is starting with saying no. And saying no unapologetically, getting to a space where you don't have to explain yourself. That's going to be a hard no for me, and that's just what it is, right? So when you start to pivot from survival mode to purpose, you start to put yourself first. You start to make sure that you're taking your deep breaths, trying to stay present in the moment, trying to do everything that you can on a conscious level every day to stay grounded. And that's not an easy thing to do at all. But I know that it's necessary for us to get to that higher version of ourselves that we are. Like, that's what we're here for, right? Why are we here? Why do you get up every day? What's your why, right? So start to really ask yourself some questions and spark some thoughts, you know, like, I never thought about that. Like, you know, just for me, like being a nurse, like I never even thought that I would never be a nurse. Like, it was never a thought in my mind. So now here I am shifting careers, pivoting into my purpose, and I'm like, I don't even want to do this particular thing anymore. You know, whether it's bedside nursing or whether it's this or that, whatever your job description is, you get to a place where you like, this is not really what I want to do anymore. Okay, what does that next step looks like for me? You know, the unknown. So I'm going with how I feel. I'm going with what I feel is right, and it has been aligning me with people who are other like-minded people. Staying grounded is something that I'm working on every single day, and this journey has been so amazing because I'm learning so much about myself, but also I'm like, oof. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, okay, let's do it. So basically those stressors can be any person, place, or thing. Anything that you need to let go of in order for you to start the process and work on getting to the next version of yourself. So pivoting from survival mode into living with a purpose, it starts with you being intentional and acknowledging the fact that you are in survival mode. We all have been in survival mode, and understand where that stems from. Understand the makeup of who you are. A lot of us have wounds. I got a ton of wounds that I'm working through that I wasn't even aware that I had. But now that I'm doing the work on this pivot, a lot of things are coming up for me, right? And I just wanted to, I have a message to give to the world, right? To share my journey, to share my experience, to share my truth with you, right? And I'm very grateful for all of it, because I needed to go through everything that I went through to get to where I am today. So I'm grateful for it. So, survival mode to living with a purpose. So I think I kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover. But what I wanted to share really quickly, just a few things before I let you guys go, what I have been doing to help me pivot or navigate from survival mode into living with a purpose. And what I do daily is I meditate. I meditate every day. I make sure I take my deep breaths. I've been practicing in for 4 breaths and out for 6. I'm just getting into journaling. I told you guys I'm working on my book, so me telling my story is therapeutic for me. My transparency, my vulnerability, that's a lot of times we suffer in silence, and I'm tired of suffering in silence. You know, I have 3 beautiful children, and they are me, you know, and my husband, of course, but good, bad, or indifferent, they're a mirror reflection of who we are. And it's a lot of things that I see that I have to heal, and that takes work. So I'm planting seeds to my little seeds that I've created, and they have been born into survival mode. So at some point we got to stop and break the cycle, which is what I'm doing. I am pivoting from survival mode into living with a purpose. And with that being said, that's really stepping outside of doing what everybody else is doing. And it's a scary, scary road, but I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like it's just time for a shift. It's time for a change. It's time for us to choose us and shift from always on the go to really just being able to go from a state of doing to a state of being. Right? Drop comments, questions. I love to have conversations with you guys. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel. I will be posting, I'm learning this social media stuff, y'all. So I'm going to be posting clips to TikTok and Facebook, like little shorts. But in order to watch the full videos, because I will be starting to interview different people. I want to have my mom and my dad on. So I got a lot of things coming you guys' way. And this is all part of my healing, to tell my story and to be able to shine light, truth, and love to those who are in alignment with healing, doing the work, pivoting from survival mode to living with a purpose. What that looks like for you, knowing that we're here for each other, to support each other, hold each other hand, and know that we ain't alone, right? We're just trying to figure it out day by day. But every week I'll be posting a video. Subscribe to my channel. I'll post that down below as well. I'll also be posting different books that I've been reading throughout my journey to try to kind of help me. And it's really just to elevate your mind, you know, to get you to think outside of what you know, right? So don't be afraid. It's a scary road. It really is. But those who are resonating with anything that I'm saying, that's interested in the pivoting from that survival mode to living with a purpose, follow me, subscribe to my channel, like, share, and subscribe. The journey of finding me is coming. When the universe is ready for that book to come out, it's going to come out, but my story is still being written. So I'm not rushing. Everything going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. So, as always, I love everybody. The light in me sees the light in you. You guys have an amazing day. Ashe.